Hello, and thanks for tuning in to Between Two Forces, Episode 3. I'm Jedi Johnson 22, representing the light side, and to my left,
Is Darth Ramrugerson representing the dark side.
this is a show where the good and the bad, dark and the light, leave our differences at the door to discuss Star Wars by asking questions to the Star Wars psychologist himself, Darth Ram Rugenson. We're a week late with this episode, and we do apologize for that. We wanted to get this out last Saturday, but Ruben had his Dark Lord Sith suit in the cleaners and refused to do the show without it. He's kind of a diva like that. So, are we ready to do this, Dark Ruben?
Yes, we are absolutely ready. Everything's washed and clean. Let's get this
All
done.
right, well, let's get it going then. Let's do the first question, and this question comes from a viewer,
That's
Grape
right.
Cheerio. That's a cool name. I like it. Speaking of Cheerios, we just anyway, that's another thing. I have a okay. So Grape Cheerio says, "I have a question for Ruben. Do you think that Luke was a coward for trying to kill Ben, a child, in his sleep?" So what do you think about that?
Well, I've been thinking about this one for a while because I read it in the comments. And thank you, Grape Cheerio, for leaving it in the comment. Um, before I go into my thing, I'm going to ask you: do you think he was a coward?
Well, I honestly don't even know what the true story is behind this because you kind of got
Mm.
two versions, right, in the movies
There
of
was
what
actually,
happened.
well, there was three versions. There was a Luke kind of saving face. There was Ben's version, which isn't wrong; it's just his version, and then the actual truth. So,
Okay, so somewhere in the
um,
middle is the truth. So
yeah,
that I
somewhere in
don't
the
really
middle.
know what to think about this. I'm kind of curious what you think about it because especially since we've already discussed Han Solo, whether or not he was a good or a bad dad. We did that in episode 1. If you hadn't seen it,
Mhm.
go check it out. So now we're talking about the uncle, and do we just have another bad male role model in Ben's life? Was
Well,
he a
actually, I do want to do something a little different. If you're watching live, I want your opinion. If you thought he was a coward or whatever you thought when you initially saw it, go ahead and put it in the chat because me and Jedi, we watch it live, and I like to hear what everybody's thoughts are. Okay. Um, Now let me go into what I was thinking about it. Okay. When I first saw the movie and that scene came out, not the saving face one and not Ben's one, the actual scene, I was a little uneasy about it. I think I was more focused on what was happening than listening to the dialogue. But the second viewing, which happened on the same day, the second viewing, what I did was I broke down what occurred that night into five different parts. Those parts being why Luke went to Ben in the first place, why Luke chose not to wake Ben up, what Luke saw when he checked inside Ben's heart and soul, his reaction to that, and the ultimate outcome. Now, we have very small visuals when it comes to it, but we do have a pretty good speech that goes along with that Luke gives to Rey. And the speech is, I saw darkness, I sensed it building inside him. I'd seen moments of it in his training, but when I looked inside, it was beyond what I had ever imagined. Snoke had already turned his heart. He would bring destruction, pain, and death, and the end to everything that I love, to what he will become. And for the briefest moment of pure instinct, I thought I could stop it. It passed like a fleeting shadow, and I was left with shame and consequence. And the last thing I saw were the eyes of a frightened boy whose master had failed him. That's it. That's the speech. And if I tag that speech to those five different parts, I'll show you what I did. Okay. So the first thing that I broke down to was why Luke went to him in the first place. And that one's simple. No one's going to argue about this one because he literally says, I saw darkness. I sensed it building inside, and I'd seen moments of it in his training. Now, any teacher, it doesn't matter if you're a Jedi or not, if you sense your student, there was something wrong with them, you would go to them. You would go say, hey, you and I need to have a conversation. I know a lot
in
of
the middle of the
teachers.
night? You would go to them
Well, I didn't
in the
say in the
middle of
middle
the
of the
night.
night. You would go to them. Okay. You would probably go to, if it was in that situation where they each had their individual hut, you might want to go talk to them, not around any other of the Padawans, just go to his little individual little hut. I could see that. No one can really argue about that one. The one that people have a tendency to have an argument is why Luke chose not to wake him up. Now, I'm gonna I'm gonna do a deep dive into that line of um, I looked inside and was beyond what I had ever imagined. Snoke had already turned his heart. And also I saw moments of it in his training. Because when I literally heard that the second time, what brought to my mind was Palpatine. And the reason I brought Palpatine in my mind is because Luke says I saw moments of it in his training. So if you're Luke Skywalker, you can sense your nephew, you can sense what he's thinking, what he's feeling, things like that. The things that Jedi do. If you can sense those kind of things, and all of a sudden you see this little flash of evil or darkness, and you're like, what the hell is going on? What's happening is, and again, this is my opinion, is Ben's putting up a a mask, kind of like Palpatine did to the entire Jedi. So if Palpatine is able to actually show off hide who he actually truly is from the greatest Jedis of that time, it is very plausible that a dark side user could do it to his master. Now, at the time when the prequels came out, I remember when episode 3 came out and they were kind of explaining it, I was asking myself, I said, now is that a voluntary or involuntary action? Like if I'm endowed in the dark side of the force and I don't want nobody to know who I am, is that an instant kind of thing, or do I have to actually concentrate enough to bring up this force mask? And that bothered me for about a day or two. And what happened is I remembered the Darth Maul Qui-Gon Jinn fight, and they they never say a word to each other. Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, they just see each other and they just start fighting. But Qui-Gon Jinn announces to the Jedi Council that this is indeed a Sith Lord. So what I took from that was, yes, he was able to look into Darth Maul, find out that he was a Sith Lord. That's why he announced that. And
Well, he was attacked in Tatooine.
he
He was
was.
directly attacked with a guy with a lightsaber, a red
He,
lightsaber.
right, but not every person has a red lightsaber is a Sith. I mean, I would say Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's not a Sith. So it's kind of, I mean, not, and we can see now, I mean, all the Inquisitors, Asajj Ventress, just because you hold a red lightsaber doesn't necessarily mean you are a Sith. But he did announce that they are a Sith. Now, if you actually listen to one of Maul's lines, he says, "At last we reveal ourselves to the Jedi," which I also interpreted as him taking that mask down. He's able to say, "You know what? I'm free. I can do whatever. I can do what I want. We're going to present ourselves." So, bringing back to Ben. So, if Ben's training and he's learning from Snoke and Luke at the exact same time, I mean, he's sneaking off to go see Snoke. He's going back and forth. If Luke is having him focus on something, he loses focus, he loses that mask, and Luke can see it, then you can see why he didn't wake him up, because you cannot make a voluntary action, a conscious decision while you're unconscious. So Luke walking over there and saying, you know what, I want to know who he truly is, because I'm not going to be blocked by anything. I mean, you're vulnerable when you're asleep. I mean, look what happened to Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis was vulnerable when he slept. That's how he was able to be murdered. So Luke not waking him up, to me at least, seemed, I don't want to say perfect, but it seemed right with the story of Luke wanting to find out who Ben truly was, not asking him, just who he truly was. Now, the third thing. The
Well,
third
before you
thing
go to
was,
the third
no,
thing,
okay,
so Luke was trained in large part by Yoda, right?
yeah,
Yoda would always say in the Clone Wars and in the maybe in the prequels too, but I know in the Clone Wars he would always tell people beware of visions because they are not always what they seem.
hmm
So is that just a lesson that Luke didn't take to heart? I mean, because obviously we saw how things turned out where Kylo was not all bad. He had a
hmm
saving grace, if you will.
hmm
So was Luke just kind of, is that a lost lesson on Luke, or did
I, when I bring up the fourth point, I bring that up. I, I bring up more of his reaction to what he saw. Now, Luke looking into Ben's heart and soul, that was the only thing that I was trying to focus on, just to say this is why he did it, because he wanted to see who Ben truly was. Um, the third thing, what Luke saw when he looked into Ben's soul, he says that it was beyond what I ever imagined. Snoke had already turned his heart. He will bring destruction, pain, and death, and the end of everything I love to what he will become. Now, if you actually watch that scene again, you can hear screaming when Luke is actually looking into Ben's heart. When I first saw that movie, I thought that Luke had seen the destruction of the Hosnian system, all the planets from The Force Awakens. That's what I thought he had saw, because we hadn't really touched on the destruction of the Jedi Temple as much. But as you listen to the line, he will bring and the end of everything that I love to what he will become, and you hear the people screaming, you can see that Luke, I mean, at least I can see that Luke literally saw the death of his students and the destruction of his temple. Now, I had thought about, well, if it was an explosion, you wouldn't see all this death, but if you hear screaming, there's torture going on. So Luke seeing people screaming in pain, that's what he saw. And now we're bringing up your part number 4, his reaction to that. I mean, if you talk to any teacher, any teacher would be like, I would risk my life for that kid. I mean, every teacher I know refers to their student as that's my kid. So him having that initial instinct and that initial reaction of I need to stop this from happening. I need to protect my students. It was more instinctual than cowardly, in my opinion. Now, if you go back to A New Hope, Ben literally tells him that he's relying too much on his vision, that he should use his instinct. And while he puts the helmet on, he said he was rely on instinct. So it is not a lesson that is untaught in the Jedi to use your instincts. But the moment Luke turned on his lightsaber, the ultimate outcome is the fact that he remembers also Yoda's lesson of always in motion is the future. The future is always, it's never set. It's not,
Uncertain, right? Okay.
it's not
Yeah.
certain. So that's why it passed by a fleeting shadow and he was left with shame and consequence. So I don't believe that it was cowardly. I think it was more instinctual and he was trying to protect everything before it happened. Now, I had an argument with somebody on Facebook about this, and I had brought up the
What?
whole yeah, me arguing with people on Facebook. I had brought
No.
up the whole thing, the whole scenario of going back in time and seeing Hitler as a baby. Could you kill that baby? And a lot of people that I've brought that up to, they were like, I couldn't kill an innocent baby. And like, yes, exactly. You could not kill a baby that hadn't done anything yet. Would you think about it? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, exactly. You would be thinking about it. That's what happened to Luke. He thought about killing him. He didn't kill him. I mean, you might even put up the pillow and be like, no, no, I'm not going to kill that baby. But that's what Luke literally did. It was more instinctual than it was, to me,
At
cowardly.
what point did he change his mind? Because, and again, my memory's fuzzy. I haven't seen the movies as many times as you have.
Mhm.
Did he actually bring his saber down, or
No,
was
no.
this
Well, he
okay?
brings it up and he's literally has it, and you could see it in Mark Hamill's eyes. I mean, he's almost to the point of tears. His eyes are glassy, and then he kind of and then he looks at his saber and he's just like, what am I doing? He's not trying to swing it at him. He's not doing it. He just brings it up. But the sound of it
In
igniting,
Kylo's version, he did though, right?
in Kylo's version, Luke had a more angry face. He was just
Yeah,
like this, and
deranged
and
kind of.
yeah, in Kylo's version, Luke was trying to kill him because Ben was too powerful. He was trying to kill me because I had too much power. So I can see Ben's point. It's not wrong. It's just he knows half the story. And on Luke's side of the story, again, like I said, not cowardly. Grape Cheerio, is that the name? Grape Cheerio.
Great
Yes,
Cheerio.
Grape
There you go.
Cheerio. Yeah, I don't think it was cowardly, but I thought it was more instinctual because he was trained to use his instincts day one. I mean, that was literally a day one lesson for him. So,
Got it. Okay. Well,
so
thanks, Grape Cheerio, for that. Oh,
in
is that
in
something?
the comments, if you're live, if you if you actually thought that it was cowardly or something else, I'm not asking you if I changed your mind. Just if I actually made you rethink that whole scene, or maybe want to watch it again, put it in the comments in the live chat. I would love to know.
Yeah,
Would love
I
to
think
know.
you made me maybe want to watch it again after hearing what you had to say.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I said, there's these three versions,
Right.
and the one that sticks out in me is, like I said, I thought he did lower but yeah, maybe he didn't. I mean, I guess he didn't, right? So
Yeah.
makes sense. Makes sense. Luke got some. I don't want to say conflicting guidance from Obi-Wan as opposed to Yoda, but there were two lessons that could be confusing
Yeah.
if they presented themselves maybe at the same time, if a
Yeah.
situation, certain situations maybe. But
Yeah. And I think Luke also got what I call PADME. And the reason I call it PADME is because Anakin saw the her death during childbirth. He saw it, but it was his actions that caused it. The same thing happened to Luke. Luke saw what Ben was going to do, and his actions caused the destruction of Jedi Temple. Just call it. He got PADME. So that's just something I came up with a long time ago. I just use it every now and then. So
got it. Okay, so let's appreciate that, Grape Cheerio, again, like the name.
yeah.
So this, like I said before, we were going to do this video last Saturday, the day before Mother's Day. So happy belated Mother's Day to all the
Yes.
mothers out there that are watching. We love you.
Yeah.
So here is a question that would have probably been more relevant last Saturday, but we're going to ask it anyway because I think it's a pretty interesting question to discuss.
Okay.
All right. So the question is, in honor of Mother's Day last week,
Hmm.
who would you say is the best mom in Star Wars? So we're not going to shoot completely off the hip with these. I've made a list of probably some of the more obvious ones, and we're going to talk about them, what we think. Yes, no, are they the best? Are they not? Are they the worst? And then at the end, if there's someone that I forgot, throw it out there, and we'll discuss them too. So, all right. So the first one
Wow.
I came up with is
Shmi Skywalker.
Shimmy Skywalker. All right.
Yeah.
So I think personally, I almost wish I'd have had her later in the list because I actually think she's the best mom in Star Wars. Me personally, she sacrificed so much for her son. The point of giving up her son, and we all have kids. We know how much we love our kids. Can you
Yeah.
imagine giving up your kid, even knowing that you're doing it to give him a better life? He, the present life he had, he was going to be a slave most likely.
Mm-hmm.
And so to do that, and then the things she did beyond that, which we talked about before from some novels, I think she made the ultimate sacrifice for her son. I think she is the example of a great Star Wars mom. What do you think?
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. When you said best mom, she was the top of my list. I mean,
First one you
if
thought of? Okay.
yeah,
I knew I should
exactly.
have put her at the bottom of the list. Dang it.
No, I mean, if you
Oh,
actually
now what are
think
we going
about
to
it,
do?
no, but if you actually think about it, everything that was good in Anakin when he was a slave came from his mother. I mean, that wasn't something that he learned through the Force or learned from Watto or learned from Sebulba or anybody else. That learned from his mother. Everything that was kind and gentle and great about Anakin when he was a kid came from his mom. It wasn't
I
until he
believe the
became a
Jedi and the
Jedi.
Sith are agreeing on this, but
It wasn't
well,
until
maybe
he
so. I mean, he was a Jedi and then he became a Sith, so maybe it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't until the Jedi got involved that he wanted more power. I mean, that's the only way I look at it. I mean, yes, she's by far, to me, the greatest mom in Star Wars.
Okay, so just for the sake of
Sorry.
the show, then that's on me. I knew I should have put her later on, but let's talk about some others.
Okay,
Let's talk about Padme.
Padme. Um,
Yeah,
I know Pete has an issue with Padme, right?
yep,
Like
yeah.
he
We all know
has an
Pete
issue.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a bad issue with her giving up her kids, and
I guess and I almost didn't even put her in the category of being a great mom because she really wasn't a mom for very long.
she really
she,
wasn't.
she
I
really
mean, she
wasn't.
really wasn't.
But
Um, the only thing I could say, I don't want to say anything really, really bad. If we ever get into the conversation of, you know, why Padme sacrificed or why Padme died, that's
lost
a
the
whole
will
different
to live.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we
I've
get
had
into
I've
that
had
question.
conversations like this with people about why people
Hmm.
think, and there are a lot of people that say it is a very justifiable reason, broken heart
Hmm.
syndrome, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah. Um, there is one thing that she did unknowingly that that we need to mention. It would be the fact that Leia remembered her. A lot of people are like, well, how could Leia remember her? And every time that comes up, every time that I have a conversation about Leia and they bring up Padme, it's like Leia says in Return of the Jedi that her mother was kind yet sad. I'm like, okay, go back and watch Empire again, because it literally says the Force, the future, the past, old friends long gone. Through the Force, you can see everything. So if Leia can see her mother through the Force, that is a justifiable answer for me. She's seen her mom through the Force. That's it. That's a
Well,
lot of people are
I
like,
have other things that and we've
yeah,
talked about them before. I think she learned a lot about her mom from Sabe, and who I to this day I can't prove it. I think had an impact on her life. And of course, her father, Gale, who was
Bail,
pretty close to
Bail,
Padme. I'm sorry, Bail,
Bail, yeah,
who was pretty close to her mother.
yeah,
Both as a senators, and then of course
hmm,
other outside the Senate realm as well. They were relied and trusted
yeah.
each other. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Lyra
Urso.
Urso.
Well, I didn't even actually think of her, to be honest. I was literally staying with the Core 9 movies. Well, when I read
Well, while you're thinking, let me tell. Here's what I
oh, go
think
ahead.
about
Go ahead. Yeah.
Lyra. Okay.
Yeah.
I think from reading some of the novels now, like Catalyst and some of the
Mm,
novels that are accompany Rogue One or pre Rogue One, when it talks about Lyra and can't think of her husband's name, but
Galen.
anyway,
Galen.
huh?
Galen.
Galen. Yeah, thank you. Uh, I mean, she was very strong. I think she was much stronger. I mean, Star Wars does like its strong female characters, and I don't think she was an exception. She was a very strong character, even though we didn't get to see a lot of that in the movies. In the books, you can really see that.
Mm-hmm.
My only detractor, if you will, for Lyra is what she did in the movie, which is leave her child, because
Oh,
she was supposed to stay with the child, right? Correct me if I'm
right.
wrong, but
Right.
she couldn't do it. She went out to try and defend her husband, and I thought that was not very. It was a great wife move. I mean, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong; it's certainly bravery, but I think her priority in that case should have been her child, and it didn't
Yeah.
seem to be.
I
What do you think?
agree. Had the circumstances ended differently, she probably been more brave. Like if she told her child go
Been a
hide,
hero, maybe? Yeah.
and she'd gone out there and she helped destroy all of them, and they were like, all right, they would have been like, whoo. But no, the way that the outcome shows, yeah, she should have stayed with the kid. I mean, that's just if you know as and it doesn't matter if it's a father or a mother. If you know as an individual that one person at least has to die, and you're going to save your family, the person that you leave your child with should be protecting that kid. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just
and
the way I
that's
would see it. So
and I guess it was good for the movie because we all know how well, I'm terrible with names, Ruben. What
Galen,
was the kid's name? No, not Galen. The kid,
Jen,
Jen. Jen.
Jen,
Jen. Yeah, Jen or so. We all know how her path went after that, being
yeah,
taught by
Saw Gerrera, yeah, you
Saul
got it,
Guerrero. Yeah.
yeah, you got it,
But yeah, so in the books, yeah, she was a great mom, very brave. Taught probably Jen got, in addition to Saul's training, she
yeah,
got a lot of her personality and grit, I think, from her mom, just from reading the novels. But that one moment, just kind of like, what? Okay, but
yeah,
yeah. All right, we won't beat that up. I think she was not the worst mom in Star Wars, but yeah, one moment I think was just kind of like, okay, that's not your priority right now.
yeah.
All right, let's go. Leia, I almost forgot about Leia because I almost forgot she's a mom, but yeah, she's a
Yeah,
mom. So what do you
she
think? I
is a
guess we're
mom,
gonna and we're not going to go through because we've already talked about it in episode 1 about Han and why they gave Ben up to
right?
Luke for the training, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
But so we won't rehash that, but let's just talk about Leia.
Well, taking away everything she did in the original trilogy because she was not a mom, we would have to start when she was in the Jedi training. We don't know too much about that, so we know she trained. She trained up until her last day of training, and on the last day of training, she stopped because she saw that her son was going to die on the last day of her training. So she was like, I give up this life because I don't want my son to die after I become a Jedi. So she goes back into being a political or a resistance leader, resistance general. The fact that I guess the fact that she gave up her son to become a Jedi we can almost put her in the same category as Shmi, because had Ben been with Leia during the fighting, he would have been in danger. He would have they could have used him against her. Something. I could almost put her in that same category, but not really quite because we
Okay,
haven't
that's an
seen it.
interesting point. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
No, I hadn't
haven't really
considered that.
seen it. It's one of those things that we can play the what if game all day, but from what we know, she did give up Ben so that way his training could happen so he could become a Jedi, and she kept him out of the war. I mean, that's so I would
Okay,
probably put
so
her at like if we'll rank them later. We'll rank them at the end. Instead
all
of
right,
it being
so
the
I only
best
have
over
one
rotten.
more.
Okay.
I only have one more, unless you can think of another one. And for the sake of time, maybe we won't go off except for our choices here. But so here's one I thought was interesting, and whether or not she was an actual mom to all of these people, I'll ask you, but because I don't know exactly how their stuff worked. But anyway, here you go.
Wow, a night sister. Well, the leader, but uh,
It's in
I
her
think
name, Mother Towson.
Mother Towson. Um, as far as being a mother, I mean, she taught all of her. Well, from what we know, she taught all the Night Sisters, and I believe she even taught Maul at some point, if I'm not mistaken. And I think she was more of a war mother. Like she teaching her kids how to fight, teaching her kids how to use their
Protect themselves.
abilities, yeah, to protect themselves, but also to cause a little bit of damage. I mean, they
Mm.
not everything that she was teaching them was for the sake of good, as far as everything that they did. But um, yeah, I really Mother
See, I
Towson's
don't
one of
know.
those.
I don't know as much about her as you do, I'm sure, but and your insights are always a little deeper than mine. But I kind of went like just kind of scratched the surface.
Mm,
She was a fierce protector of her children. I mean, we don't know if they were all. I don't know how that works, the biology
yeah,
of all that. But anyway, fiercely protective
mm,
of her daughters, and that's
daughters.
really as
Yeah,
far as I went. I was like, hey, I mean,
yeah. I mean, yes, she had very good protecting skills, but as far as
but were they for her own self interest or because she? I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's we'll wrap. We're at 30 minutes right now, or give or take. So
Wow.
actually, probably not quite because. All right, so let's go back through them. We'll rank them. We'll start from the bottom because I think we already know who's number one. But we'll start with Mother
Yeah.
Towson. So we
Do
have
you
one, two, three, four, five. Is she number five or somewhere in between? Or
let's see, what is it? We have Shmi, Leia,
we have Shmi, we have Padme,
Padme.
Lyra, Leia, a lot of L's, and
Mm,
Mother
Mother.
Towson.
I would probably say Mother Towson's last, and Padme would be fourth.
Padme's fourth. Okay, who's third? I'm not really disagreeing with you.
Yeah, that would be Ursula would be third, Leia, and then Shmi. That's the way I would rank it.
And it's me. Yeah, I agree. I tend to agree. Yeah. So I thought that was a fun
That
discussion.
is funny. And
Even
again,
though
happy late Mother's Day to all the mothers out there,
absolutely,
and to my
absolutely,
wife. I got to throw out my happy late Mother's Day to my wife. I did buy her something, which is great. So
that's good. Yeah, it's important.
yes, yes, very
All
important.
right. So last question, and this is something that obviously is near and dear to your heart because you're like, I am talking about this. Get it on the schedule because it was something that we talked about a little bit on last week's Tales from the Dark Side
Mm,
Sunday show. And immediately after the show, Ruben texts me and says, "Get this on the episode 3. I got something to say about this." So,
right.
what are your thoughts on an Obi-Wan Vader interaction during the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, particularly a fight scene if they duel? What do you think?
If
You have something
okay.
that's weighing heavy on you.
Oh man, because there was something that bothered me from episode 3. When episode 3 came out, there was something that they didn't close that circle for me. There was something that they left out, and I was just like, it's been picking in my brain for the longest time. But before I get to that, Let's talk about the clues that we have in the original trilogy, because everybody harps on the circle is not complete. When I left you, I was but to learn, and now I am the master. Let's talk about the other ones. Okay, let's leave that one for last. First thing that we talk. The first thing that Vader says is he mentions to Tarkin. Says Obi-Wan's. Oh, he is here. He's like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's like a tremor in the Force. The last time I felt it was in the presence of my old master. Now that one's not too much of a either one, if they can fight or if they cannot fight. That one kind of
Yeah, it's
straddles
kind
the
of
fence. It's
either
kind of a
or. Yeah.
straddle. So okay,
Yep.
we'll give you that one a straddle. The second one that comes up is the circle is not complete, but I'm pushing that one to the end. The third one I want to bring up is during their fight. Um, Vader says, "Let me see if I get this right." Vader says, "Your powers are weak, old man." Obi-Wan replies, "You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine." And then Vader says, "You should not have come back." Now, does that mean back to me? Or, I mean, back to Vader? Or does that mean back to the Death Star? Or, because it kind of left me, I was like, back to where? Like, back to Vader? So, again, that's one of those ones that's kind of straddling the fence a little bit. And then even the one that he says, I sense something, a presence I've not felt since, and he kind of walks away. That kind of straddles the fence. The one that picked at my brain for the longest time and still does to this day, because not everything in Star Wars makes sense. Like I'm very optimistic when it comes to Star Wars, but there are little things here and there that I'm kind of like, they need to fix that. And one of them is in Return of the Jedi. Luke turns himself into Vader. They have a little conversation about the Emperor was expecting you. During that during that conversation, Luke says, "Come with me," and Vader says, "Obi-Wan once thought as you do." Wait a minute. That Obi-Wan never told Vader in episode 3, "Come with me." He never said that. And I thought when when episode 3 came out, I was going to like, "Oh, I'm finally going to see Obi-Wan try to be like, Vader, just come with me. Just go with me." That's something that picked in my brain for a long time. And when it didn't happen, I was like, what was the point of that? What that line does not make sense. If
Can you say the line again, real quick,
Vader says, um,
or paraphrase it?
Uh, no. Vader is holding Luke's lightsaber and says, "I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete. Indeed, you
Right.
are powerful as the Emperor has foreseen." He turns his back. Luke literally turns around, looks at him, and says, "Come with me." And Vader says, "Obi-Wan once thought as you do."
Well, I mean, couldn't that be extracted from their fight scene on Mustafar? I mean,
But
Obi-Wan pleaded with him several times
he
to
never,
stop.
but he said stop, but he wasn't like, just come with me. Padme said it like 3 or 4 times. She's like, just come with me, come and raise our child. She said it like 3 or 4 times. But when you say something like someone once thought as you do, it's almost they almost want to. I almost want to hear it verbatim. Of, hey, look, hey Vader, just stop doing what you're doing. Just come with me. Just come with me. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted to see. When it never happened, I was always just like, okay, then. And I left it alone. I didn't argue about it. But the Obi-Wan
But then
Kenobi,
Kenobi also later says something to the effect of Vader is dead, or I'm sorry, Anakin is dead, or something like that,
right,
right? I mean,
right, he does.
did he
But
mean
he,
that in the physical or the? I mean, obviously, he probably thought physical, but also
well,
the
again, that
person
was
Anakin is dead.
the person Anakin is dead. Yeah, that's what he literally thought. But that was one that always picked in my brain. Now let's go back to the one that everybody brings up. The circle is now complete. When I left you, were about to learn, and now I am the master. So first off, okay, the circle is now complete. Yes, the circle is complete. There, everything has gone full circle. They are back together. When I left you, wait a minute. Who left who on Mustafar?
Yeah, okay. I've heard this argument, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who literally left who? Okay, and then it says, "I was but the learner. Now I am the master." And I heard Marco talk, and I heard you guys all talk on Sunday, which was a great show, by the way. And I think it was you or Marco that said it would take him it wouldn't, okay, because Obi-Wan happens 9 years after Revenge of the Sith. And there's like, it would take him 9 years and he's still a learner?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah,
Was that you?
I don't
Oh,
think he
awesome.
would consider himself still a learner at that point.
But you
If they
also
met
got to,
again.
but you also have to put into consideration who gives him the rank of master. It would be Palpatine, right? And Palpatine knows the rule of two and knows that he teaches Anakin or Vader everything, he might overthrow him. So his education
Well,
wouldn't.
at the battle on the Death Star, he's still an apprentice to Palpatine, is he not?
Vader calls himself a master. I don't think we actually hear the word apprentice in the original trilogy at all.
Okay.
So he's considered a master in his own right. We don't actually hear the Emperor call him a master or a lord. They call him a
We do
lord,
hear the
but it
Emperor
doesn't count.
say, take your father's place at my side."
Right. But again, he doesn't give him a rank because ranks didn't really come up until the prequels. So from the Emperor's point of view, are you going to educate him as everything? Like, are you going to give him that rank? Are you going to mess with him? Because that's what the Emperor's been doing this. The 6 movies are all about Emperor's manipulation, Palpatine's manipulation. That's all it is about. He's not going to have Darth Vader stand next to him and he'd be like, all right, let me teach him everything within the first couple of years, or hell, even the first decade. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be like, hey, teach him everything, because if I teach him everything, he can just overthrow me and he can be the emperor and he'll have an apprentice and I'll be dead. So you always have to think about that rule of two. So it is very plausible that when they meet again, because Kathleen already came out and said that it's the fight of the century, or however she worded it. If they meet again, all they have to do is just Vader's still learning how to be it. Vader's still learning everything he needs to know to have enough power to overthrow the Emperor. Because
Okay.
in Empire Strikes Back, Vader's like, Luke, he tells Luke, "Come with the Emperor has foreseen this. Come with me, and we can destroy the Emperor." So Vader still can't do it at that point alone.
So, as like I said in the show on Sunday, it was a good discussion.
Yeah, it was.
It was, and kind of like us on the show. I think fans are going to be divided if this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I'm still at my core. I'm like you. I'm an optimist. I have optimism that if they make it happen, that they will make it seamless and it will make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing to me. But you have these fans, like some folks we know, God bless
You
him.
can call his name. You can say Marco. Marco's a purist. That's one
Yeah,
of the things I
he's
really.
no matter how, even if it makes perfect sense
Yeah.
to, we'll just say the average fan,
Mm-hmm.
people like Marco and those
Mm-hmm.
of his level of knowledge, they're not your average fan. They're gonna find something, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's not alone. I mean,
Oh no.
I don't really want them messing with the original trilogy. I'm in his camp when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I kind of think that they are. And to me, the most important thing is if they do, please make it seamless. At least give us ammunition to make a good argument to those who want to find fault in it.
Right.
If it's just so sloppy, then it's gonna leave a sour taste in my mouth. And
Well, you also
hope
have to
that's
think from Vader's standpoint. Okay, he was left to die on Mustafar. You think he honestly waited to go hunting for Obi-Wan Kenobi? That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. That just doesn't. If I'm Darth
that would
Vader,
be like number one on his to-do list. That's what you're
exactly. It'll be like, we're going to wipe out all the Jedi and somebody find Obi-Wan Kenobi because I don't want to deal with that dude. That's the number one thing to do on this list. That guy left me to die. I want a rematch. I want to be able to
Yeah.
fight him again.
So you almost think that in the series, and I'm not here to theory craft or anything like that, but
Yeah.
you almost think that two things are going to happen. Either the less likely is that Kenobi is going to evade capture throughout the entire series. Probably not going to happen.
No.
And like you were saying, I'm pretty sure that the Inquisitors have orders is if you catch this guy, I want him alive.
He's
bring it to
mine.
me, right?
He's mine.
He's not.
Yeah.
Don't kill the guy because you're signing your own death warrant if he shows up in front of me dead.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So now, okay.
And when we saw Vader and the Ahsoka fight, and Vader had like half his mask like cut, and you could see inside. I see that happening in live action. I'm not wrong. I mean, I'm often wrong when it comes to
I'm
theory
always wrong.
crafting, but I could see that Obi-Wan was able to look into Anakin's eyes and be like, see him for a brief moment, and be like, come with me. Just stop doing what you're doing and just come with me. So that's what I
All right.
want. I do want the rematch. I'm a huge Vader fan, so I do want a rematch. So
I would be much more if I had two choices, and we're not going to go down this rabbit hole. Maybe another time.
mm,
If the fans want to hear you talk about it and me ask questions and say, oh, and then you know put it in the chat, and we'll certainly talk about it if you
yes.
want to talk about it. But uh, I would much rather see a Vader Obi-Wan confrontation in the series than a Vader. I'm sorry, than a Obi-Wan Darth Maul confrontation.
Oh, definitely,
I do not
definitely.
want them messing with that scene from Rebels.
Yeah. You
Period.
take down if there's one Darth Maul image and he confronts, they can have him in there, but if they have him where they confront each other, I would honestly be pissed. I would be pissed off. Yeah.
Man, we're just agreeing with each other all night here. I don't. This
Yeah.
is. I think we're
Very
hanging out
unusual.
too much. We're hanging out too much, Ruben. This is
Probably.
not good for the
Probably.
show. It's not good for the show. Not what the show is supposed to be about. But all right, so we're gonna cut it there. You got that off your chest? You got?
I got that
I
off
think
my chest.
we
I needed
agree
to say
actually
it
for the
before
most
the
part.
before the show comes out. That's when I needed to say it. So it's
All
out
right,
there.
great. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. Thanks again for watching Between Two Forces Episode 3. Be sure to give us likes, give us some comments. If you have a question that you want us to discuss, please drop it in. Not the live comments, but the comments after the show that we can go back and look at. And let us know. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Rennavision, where we are always motivated to keep you entertained with fun and informative content. Any last words, buddy?
No, thanks to Grape Cheerio for your question. That was a really good question. It gave me something to think about. So I appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah.
So until next time, till episode 4, everybody take care, and we'll see you later.
May the force be
Bye-bye.
with you.